rectifiers look a little bit different. It's because they have mercury vapor inside them. It says an envelope. This is all still new to me, but these look a little bit different than these.
These mercury vapor rectifiers, I believe, resemble these ancient Tartarian technology. They were able to communicate somehow. Was this their FaceTime? Was this their way of trying to watch TV? It says they're using ionized mercury vapor. So this had to do something with their sort of entertainment or some form of communication. Let's dive into it. This is the actual terminals and how they had to use it. The power transformer. Look at all that copper doing all the beautiful conducting. Looks just like a computer system. Hold it.
Could the Egyptians also be using the same process, using the rectifiers? Y'all know how they used to be energized back in the day.
Guys, that's filled with mercury vapor. If they could manipulate the ether and do this in some type of way, they could definitely been using those for holograms, their television, and powering their homes. They were manipulating the vapor output in multiple different ways. Guys, look at that and tell me that doesn't resemble these. What's good, everybody? It's your boy Jesky Chuck, back with another creepy and scary TikTok that might make you rethink your reality. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. We are on the dark waters, talking about the mercury rectifiers, the untapped energy into the ether. Yes, this is new. I've never heard about it. We are going to be diving in on these waters. If you haven't already, uppercut that bell and turn notifications to all. If you're new around here, you're lucky because you got so many other videos you can go back and watch, and I highly recommend watching the last 4 if this is your first video.
So without further ado, I want to tap into this energy and see what's really going on. There's no way an anvil is floating. So an anvil is actually floating in mercury? That is wild. An anvil floating like that. You gotta be kidding me. This is wireless energy. He did it.
The old buildings from the old world, the sacred buildings, they used to have these brass balls and they loaded them up with mercury and they put them real high up so that they could gather atmospheric energy, which is free energy. The higher you go up, the more energy that's up there. And they would run, for example, a copper wire down into their home and they could use that if they wanted free energy or to light their light bulbs or whatever things that they had in the home.
Archaeologists keep finding rivers of mercury beneath ancient pyramids in different continents stretched all over the world. In the mausoleum of the first emperor of China, there is a tiny replication of all of the lands he conquered, along with a river of mercury. A river of mercury was also found underneath the pyramid of Teotihuacan in Mexico. What was the purpose of this mercury?
Interesting one, because if you take mercury and you make it spin, it actually creates a voltage. It creates electricity. See that fan right there? If you take mercury and you make it spin just like that fan, the voltage will go through the roof. And what's interesting is there is mercury under all the pyramids in the world. So think about that. Now what's also interesting is if you think about Mercury retrograde, which is where Mercury begins to spin backwards. So if Mercury is underneath our feet at all times and it's spinning, imagine what it would do to the body. Because if Mercury is spinning and creating electricity that's underneath the pyramids, imagine what it's doing to humanity. Then you go into Mercury retrograde, you start spinning back the opposite direction, and then all of humanity starts spinning back the opposite direction. And everybody's like, man, my electronics are all messing up and all my technology's messing up. Yes, because if Mercury is spinning back the opposite direction and it's below our feet, then all of a sudden it's going to cause a lot of electrical disturbances. It's simple. But like I said, everything in which we have been told has been flipped. So I highly recommend everybody look into that. And to take it a step further, check this. Tesla, man-made earthquake machine. Now what's interesting is it talks about how Tesla created a man-made earthquake machine which worked like a little tiny device in which he could place up next to a building and it would emit a certain frequency or resonance and that building would fall or would crumble. So if you think about, for example, when earthquakes were happening in certain places and they would get hit with one after another at the exact same time, and if this device is true to what it is, this device could be part of the patents in which people received after Tesla died. Remember, when Tesla died, all of his patents were taken. All of his work was taken. Who took it? I can tell you who took it. There are a lot of three-letter agencies who have all of that information. So if the earthquake machine is right here, and you can look into Dale Pond, he also talks about Tesla's earthquake machine. It actually looked like a piston engine, and it would have a thing, and it would compress, sending a frequency right into the ground, and then causing things to shake, and then causing it to fall down. And if you think of the old stories, I think it's of the Walls of Jericho, I think that story is of a bunch of people walking around a building, chanting, using sound frequency, until the walls of Jericho fell down due to the sound frequency and the resonance going around the building until it collapsed. So if you think about these things, They have this new term called a
responsible for 80% of the technology we use today, including X-ray, radar, laser, and radio. Tesla believed that the Earth was a giant electrical generator and that we could use the planet with its poles to conduct wireless electricity. You probably thought that wireless electricity was a new technology, but all the way back in 1893 at the World's Fair, he shocked everyone by holding an isolated light bulb in his hand, and he lit it naturally using the free electricity that runs through the Earth. So take all of that into your mind, take a deep breath, because I'm going to introduce you to the plot twist of the century. Because of Nikola Tesla's work, this is why quite literally millions of people believe that the ancient pyramids are not tombs, but power plants emitting wireless technology. Hey, don't say I didn't warn you. I did say this was going to get controversial, and I've looked carefully at this Egyptian ankh and then compare it to Tesla's oscillator. Now check out these ancient Egyptian
Hold the phone. What are
and
these?
notice, what is it that this mysterious thing is holding? It looks like a wire and a...
Or it could be a rectifier.
But get this, in 1934, these three artifacts were found together in one of the pyramids. A ceramic pot, a tube of copper, a rod iron which contained a liquid acid, and all of these combined can be used to create a chemical reaction.
Yes, this is what we've been looking for. This was probably one of the first stages of using a magnesium rectifier. A mercury rectifier. This could be one of the first sightings of using a mercury rectifier. Let's go, y'all.
Which produces electricity. Remember earlier how I told you that there was another theory for why there was water beneath the pyramids? Well, these same people who believe that these pyramids are energy sources, they believe that physioelectricity could be controlled by using the water from the Nile that runs beneath these pyramids. Look carefully at these sarcophaguses. These were clearly built into the pyramid as they were so large that you cannot move them. In fact, Egyptologists, they believe that they were bull coffins. But those who believe this same theory say there's no way they were bull coffins. No, these are battery boxes. And in fact, in 2011, when a camera went inside one of these rooms, they found a large copper wire. And these same people claim that the hieroglyphics on the wall were showing some kind of wiring boxes. And in fact,
this was without a doubt a rectifier. They could have possibly had magnesium. Not magnesium, mercury. They could have possibly had mercury in there, and they could have had those wires connecting into it. And then, yes, it's making sense. Boy, oh boy, the pieces are coming together, y'all. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. We on these dark waters, but it's coming together, y'all. Shout out to Off the Curb Ministries for doing this video. Off the Curb with the K. I tried to find this footage with the copper wires, and it wasn't easy, and he did it in this video. Thank you. I was definitely trying to get that in this one.
Large that you cannot move them. In fact, Egyptologists, they believe that they were bull coffins. But those who believe this same theory say there's no way they were bull coffins. No, these are battery boxes. And in fact, in 2011...
Yes, or I think they was using those Baghdad batteries as just the ways to transfer the energy, possibly. But yeah, there's definitely something under there. But didn't they say that there was mercury under these pyramids? So maybe it was water. Ionized water. Who knows? But one thing I do know is that they were charging up for sure.
When a camera went inside one of these rooms, they found a large copper wire, and
That copper wire, without a doubt, plays a critical role in it being energized. It's game over with these copper wires, y'all, because we know that they're can conduct energy. But why they're not gold, I don't know. Maybe they were gold plated. Who knows?
same people claim that the hieroglyphics on the wall were showing some kind of wiring diagram. Whether you buy into these speculations or not, no one can deny that the genius Nikola Tesla was fascinated by the Great Pyramid.
Let's go back to the pyramids, because this is important. Where is this reservoir pointing to? This doesn't look like. This may be something bigger. This is interesting. Soak this in. Put what you think this cup patterns, because it looks like these may be cups.
The Great Pyramid and its potential to produce limitless energy. He even imitated the structure by building his own electromagnetic pyramid called the Warden Cliff Tower. This utilized the Earth's resonance, creating wireless energy. Tesla even said that he used it to wirelessly transmit pictures and sounds. But sadly, Tesla wasn't taken very seriously. And not only did many rip off his ideas, but in 1915 he ended up bankrupt with little reputation. And his transmitter tower was eventually destroyed by the authorities, who were very suspicious of its capabilities. You know exactly what I'm going to say next. Do you think that these pyramids were in fact power plants just right now? Because if you go on Google and you type in the speed of light, you get this number. So watch what happens when you put this number on Google Earth. Before you say, that's just a coincidence, did you know that the Great Pyramid is almost perfectly aligned to what is called true north? Even more so than the attempt that modern-day scientists made when they built the Paris Observatory. But what makes this even more shocking is when you remember that this ancient group of people who built the Great Pyramid had no compass. Still think it's a coincidence? Well, did you know that the Great Pyramid sides are on the exact line of the equator? And the three pyramids of Giza are perfectly aligned to match the belt of Orion. When you look at all the facts, it doesn't take a genius to understand that whoever built the most accurately aligned structure on Earth was not a simple people group using primitive methods, but incredibly intelligent workers.
Structures like the Great Pyramids were actually part of an ancient electrical grid. Mercury arc rectifiers may be a key component to this mystery. These devices utilized mercury in a vacuum. When heated, the liquid mercury in the sealed chamber transforms into vapor. The rectifier has two electrodes within the chamber. One is a cathode and the other is an anode. When high voltage is applied across the electrodes, the mercury vapor ionizes. This process creates a conductive path, allowing current to flow between the cathode and the anode, forming an electrical arc. The device is used to convert AC alternating current into direct current, alternating current being the same current that Nikola Tesla spent his entire life working with. What would a human in ancient times think if they were confronted with a device like this? Is it possible there's some connection here to the Ark of the Covenant, or why they keep finding giant pools of mercury beneath ancient sites? You are looking at a mercury arc rectifier. If structures at a mercury arc rectifier. If structures like the Great Pyramids were actually
That smoke that's starting to form. Tell me that ain't these pictures.
If structures like the Great Pyramids were actually part of an ancient electrical grid, mercury arc rectifiers may be a key component to this mystery. These devices utilized mercury in a vacuum. When heated, the liquid mercury in the sealed chamber transforms into vapor. The rectifier has two electrodes within the chamber. One is a cathode and the other is an anode. When high voltage is applied across the electrodes, the mercury vapor ionizes. This process creates a conductive path, allowing current to flow between the cathode and the anode, forming an electrical arc. The device is used to convert AC alternating current into direct current, alternating current being the same current that Nikola Tesla spent his entire life working with. What would a human in ancient times think if they were confronted with a device like this? Is it possible there's some connection here to the Ark of the Covenant, or why they keep finding giant pools of mercury beneath ancient sites? You're looking at
Was the technology Tesla was using to do that beam. Without a doubt, he was using that type of technology for a beam. And the Ark of the Covenant too? Man, let's dive into that.
Do you have a theory as to what the Ark of the Covenant was and what happened to it?
The Ark of the Covenant was a technological device that was a real, incredible power source. It may have been even a nuclear power source, because when you read the description of what happens when you're not wearing the right type of attire to handle it, you see that the people are having what appears to be radiation sickness. Hair falling out, eyes bleeding, nails falling out. If you touch it in the wrong spot where there's this electrical charge, you die instantaneously because it's going to stop your heart. And so I believe that it was a high-power, highly charged device that ran potentially off of nuclear power or had some source of extreme radiation that would come out of it. I believe that there were more than one Ark of the Covenant. I think that there was actually 3 Arks of the Covenant. For whatever reason, these things have seemingly disappeared. Now, one, what more recently was discovered to be in Ethiopia at a church and being guarded by the church priest. Somebody had broke in and stole it. They didn't have a military. They just took it. So the last one that we knew where it potentially could have been is now gone as well.
Do you have a theory as to what the Ark of the Covenant was and what happened to it?
He said there was 3 and they took the last one? Where'd he say it was?
Did you know that the Ark of the Covenant has actually been found? This is crazy because the Ark literally holds the 10 commandments that Moses got from God. And this all started because of a video by a guy called Kevin Cash, whose goal in life is to make it known that the Ark of the Covenant has been found. And there's many people who debate this and get grumpy about it. But the biblical backing that he uses is just unbelievable. Check this. So it starts back on January 6, 1982, where a man by the name of Ron Wyatt says he discovered not only the Ark of the Covenant, but the actual crucifixion site of Jesus Christ. He was doing biblical excavation when he found this small cave and he went through it. To make a long story short, he ends up finding this golden box with a cracked lid and a cracked ceiling through the entire mountain to the top with this hole in it. He also found a dark dry substance on the top of the mercy seat of the ark. And he actually passed out when he realized it was blood, because according to the Old Testament, in order to fulfill the law, the blood of the sacrifice must be applied to the mercy seat. And if Jesus was a sacrifice, then according to the law, his blood had to be applied.
Certainly believe this is it, and they treat it as the most sacred relic in the world.
So what are they going to do?
Well, what they're going to do at this point is either repair the leak, or I don't know how it's going to work as to how they're going to actually move it, because the belief is that if you see the ark, you will implode. So it's one of these great mysteries. I know Steven Spielberg has nothing, but there you can see the beautiful wood encased with gold.
Okay, what is this? This is the.
This
what am I
is
seeing
supposed
here?
to be the ark, which is the container of the 10 commandments that God gave to Moses on Mount Sinai.
Okay, but only one guy can see it. Aren't people lining up trying to get a glimpse? Why would you want to if you're going to implode?
Absolutely, which is why it's been secret up until this point. Okay. But with the leak in the roof, it has to be moved. So what's going to happen to the sacred relic?
Was that the actual one?
Whether you believe it or not, it certainly is something mysterious and certainly something sacred. Ethiopia
The Ark of the Covenant is one of the most fascinating and mysterious objects in the history of Judaism and Christianity. It is a wooden chest covered with gold that contains the 2 stone tablets of the 10 Commandments, which God gave to Moses on Mount Sinai. According to the Bible, the Ark also contained a pot of manna, the miraculous food that sustained the Israelites in the wilderness, and Aaron's rod, the staff that blossomed to show God's choice of Aaron as the high priest. The Ark of the Covenant was not just a container for sacred relics, but also a symbol of God's presence and power among his people. The Bible describes how God spoke to Moses, the staff that blossomed to show God's choice. The Ark also contained a pot of manna, the miraculous food that sustained in the wilderness, and Aaron's rod, the staff that blossomed to show God's choice of Aaron as the high priest. The Ark of the Covenant was not just a container for sacred relics, but also a symbol of God's presence and power among his people. The Bible describes how God spoke to Moses from between the 2 cherubim, the winged creatures that adorned the lid of the ark, known as the mercy seat. The ark was also carried by the Israelites into battle, and it often brought them victory over their enemies. For example, when the Israelites crossed the Jordan River to enter the Promised Land, the priests carrying the ark caused the waters to stop flowing and allowed them to pass. Later, when they marched around the city of Jericho with the ark, the walls of the city collapsed, and they conquered it. The Ark of the Covenant was also a sign of God's covenant with his people and his expectations for them to obey his laws. The 10 Commandments were not only a set of rules, but also a summary of God's character and will for his people. They expressed God's love, justice, holiness, and faithfulness, and called his people to reflect these qualities in their relationship with him and with others. The Ark reminded the Israelites that they were chosen by God to be his treasured possession, a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. The Ark of the Covenant was so sacred that only certain people were allowed to touch it or approach it. The Ark was kept in a special tent called the Tabernacle, which was designed by God and built by skilled craftsmen according to his instructions. Only the Levites, the tribe assigned to serve as priests, were allowed to carry the ark and minister in the tabernacle. Even among them, only one person, the high priest, was allowed to enter the innermost chamber of the tabernacle, called the Holy of Holies, where the ark was placed. And he could only do so once a year, on the Day of Atonement, when he would sprinkle blood on the mercy seat to make atonement for himself and for the people. Anyone who violated these rules would face severe consequences, such as death or disease. For example, when Uzzah touched the ark to steady it when it was being transported on a cart, he was struck dead by God. And when some Philistines captured the ark and placed it in their temple, they suffered plagues of tumors and rats until they returned it. The Ark of the Covenant was not only important for ancient Israelites, but also for Christians today. Christians believe that Jesus Christ is the fulfillment of God's covenant with his people, and that he is greater than Moses, Aaron, and the Ark. The Ark of the Covenant is one of
more than 2 or 3 years. The Ark is kept in a sanctuary chapel in the grounds of the oldest Christian place of worship in Africa, the Church of St. Mary of Zion. And when I asked the guardian about what was causing his blindness, he said it was the Ark that was doing it to him. And looking at me through these clouded eyes of his, he said the Ark is a thing of fire. And I do believe that Ethiopians do have that object. These monks have a very short lifespan. Typically, once they're appointed, they don't live more than 2 or 3 years. The Ark is kept in a sanctuary chapel in the grounds of the oldest Christian place of worship in Africa, the Church of St. Mary of Zion. And when I asked the guardian about what was causing his blindness, he said it was the Ark that was doing it to him. And looking at me through these clouded eyes of his, he said the Ark is a thing of fire. And I do believe that Ethiopian
Ark of the Covenant is just behind us. So my initial thoughts are, can I compare this to the biblical descriptions of the Ark? Is this the real one? The first thing I noticed is no cherubim on the top. Not carrying it like the Levites carrying it. Also, it looks smaller. I think it would be a lot heavier if it had the two tablets in. The guy's balancing it on his head. The Ethiopian Ark of the Covenant is just behind us.
Book of Enoch is a book that was quite popular during the first 700 years of church history, but then faded from sight. Nobody republished it. It disappeared until the Book of Enoch was rediscovered in the Ethiopian region of Abyssinia.
Few historical writings arouse as much curiosity as the Book of Enoch, which has been described as forbidden from the Bible for unveiling profound truths about the mysteries of creation. It's a book filled with sensual fallen angels, violent giants, strange cosmology, and world-changing revelations. The Book of Enoch is an apocryphal Old Testament book about events that occurred a century before the birth and ministry of Jesus. Most Christian denominations do not consider this book to be divinely inspired scripture. At the end of the 4th century, the original manuscript disappeared. It was later discovered in Abyssinia, Ethiopia in 1773. Only the Ethiopian Christian sect includes the Book of Enoch in their scriptures.
So, I mean, that shows a little validity if they did say that there was a Ark of the Covenant in Ethiopia. They did find the Book of Enoch there.
Today we show the startling revelations from the Book of Enoch that have been forbidden from the Bible. Who really is Enoch? Enoch was Adam's great-great-great-great-grandson and Noah's great-grandfather, who led a holy and faithful life to the Lord. According to the Bible, he also became the father of Methuselah, the person who lived the longest. He has had several offspring during his 3+ centuries on earth. Only 2 people in the Bible, Enoch and Elijah, appear to be carried directly to heaven without experiencing death. God takes him away after 365 years on earth, Genesis 5:24. Take appears to indicate snatched up or carried away, perhaps in the same way that God took away Elijah the prophet. He walked in faith throughout his life, and that made all the difference. Whatever happened, he trusted and obeyed God. God was so fond of Enoch that he spared him the agony of death. Many Jewish and Christian traditions revolve around Enoch. He was thought to be the author of the Book of Enoch and was also known as the scribe of judgment. Enoch is mentioned in the Gospel of Luke, the Epistle to the Hebrews, and the Epistle of Jude, the latter of which quotes from it. In the Catholic Church, Eastern Orthodoxy, and Oriental Orthodoxy, he is regarded as a saint. Enoch was a well-known preacher, and his sermon was one of God's judgments on humanity.
Book of Enoch is a book that was quite popular.
Now it's quite interesting. You know, I had to break down. Yes, there is some type of validity from Ethiopia having the Ark of the Covenant and the Book of Enoch. So there is a little bit of validity there. But yes, I do believe that it was real. Where it's at, I have no idea. If you had to ask me right now, it's behind that terrible crystal.
On and see what happens. Oh yeah, I can see it glowing. Oh, that is so cool. Wow, what a beautiful color. You can actually see the plasma coming out of the shield and spreading out and contacting the anode. That is the plasma conduit between the cathode and the anode. How beautiful is that?
If you look how this concave or convex, I don't remember which one it is, but if you look at the form of this is like a bowl and it's shooting out this plasma. So without a doubt, if we look at the ancient tech of the Tartarians, they definitely was using this same type of technology to either their form of television, their form of entertainment, and I can't say that they were communicating with the dead with this, because I have not seen anything leading to that. As interesting as that sounds, I can't see anything leading to that so far. For entertainment purposes only. Do your own research on everything. Shout out to Usaga Electric for this video. I'm going to put the link to this full video in the comments.
Oh, there it goes. Ooh, this one had a much different color. It's a much deeper purple color. But it is also really beautiful. And just like before, you can see how the shield is directing the flow of plasma directly up to that plate, to that anode. That is just...
That's it for today's episode, y'all. If y'all made it this far, drop the 1,000 in the comments. For these longer boys, drop the 1,000 so I know it's real, you know. And I appreciate you guys for tackling along on this one. It was more I kind of wanted to do, man. I wanted to dig off into the Egyptian batteries more. I wanted to dig off into that Tartarian phone communication more, man, but it's just so many hours in the day, and it's just so much I gotta do, and I gotta get this out to y'all. I gotta chop this video up and give it out to y'all, man. I appreciate you guys for tapping in with me so long. I'm actually gonna work on that merch, you know. I'm just waiting on a little extra bread, but as soon as I get that everything rolling my way, I'm gonna get that merch out to you guys, you know. I know you guys been asking about it, so I'm definitely gonna get it to you. If you guys haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button, and also uppercut that bell and click all so you're not late to the party. As soon as I upload these boys, you first in line, you know. And I just want to say thank you, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.